In this video I show how I went about making the lower cowl patch on the 1968 Mustang build. This is just the beginning. I've still got more extensive patching to do on the firewall and surrounding areas before we can move forward with the actual install. If you want to see how all this comes together, make sure you hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you get notified when the next video drops. Let's get into it. Got the cowl off finally, exposing all of the rust. If you've got a rusty old Mustang like this, it's likely that you've got the same problems around this area on both sides. We've got this nest in here. You can see that hopefully there's nothing in there, but look at that. Along the side too, same as both sides, and this side's even worse up here. Ugh. Should probably be wearing a mask. Yeah, here we have it. This little repair didn't even really close it in. You can see the flaw where they mount this flange right on top, and I don't see any evidence of any kind of seam sealer or anything, so it's right from the factory. It was doomed. But up here, it's pretty bad on the driver's side. It's okay up here, but like water can shed either way, even though it's underneath the grill part of the cowl, the upper cowl. But I mean, water sits in here. Yeah, up here too. Luckily, this whole lower cowl can be replaced. They do make patches, so I mean we could fix it, but instead of sweeping this out, blowing it out with the air, we're going to vacuum it out. Mostly because you don't want to be breathing in mouse piss, mouse shit. So here we go. Okay, now we can see what we're working with here. Yep, but needs to be repaired. Even up at the firewall end, it's all rusted through. Up here's looks like it'll clean up, but needs to be repaired. Even up at the firewall end, it's all rusted through. Up here's looks like it'll clean up. Even up where the export brace mounts looks all good. That's about the only good news so far. Unfortunately, this was thin in some spots, and I kind of tore it up. So I will have to repair that. This flange is the bottom of the windshield, and it is part of the
dash, unfortunately, and the dash is welded in, so should be able to repair it okay. Now over here, same thing. Up by the windshield base, rusted through. This is fairly typical. And I think I mentioned earlier, there's no signs of any kind of sealant. So like right from the factory, like here you can, it's a bit of the original. I don't know if you can see that on camera or not, but definitely no sealer to seal the flange. I think that would have helped, so the water doesn't seep under. And if you can imagine, this probably wasn't any type of primer underneath there, so it was bound to happen. So we're going to tear this out. I guess repair the bottom first before moving on to and making sure it fits, that is, before cutting anything else out. Okay, so I've been staring at this for a bit, wondering what I can do without buying a whole entire lower cowl. Now I do know they make pre-made quarters or thirds, so you can buy like up to here-ish, and the same thing on the other side. But what would it take to make a piece? I don't think I can do this in one piece. I think obviously I can make the flat part. I think I can make this as well, so the bottom plus this. Not too far up into here, unfortunately. I think it'll be too much to make this and all of this at the same time, but I'm sure I can go over, say, like an inch, give it past, and then make doing as minimum as possible. So then this piece, this might be a little difficult, but I think this piece attaching to this piece can be done. So that's two pieces. And then the final piece, this piece here. So three pieces. I think to start, I'm going to remove this so then I can lay out some paper and try to make it make sense with the paper. So let's do that. Okay, this is my technique I'm using. Just to get rid of this ring. Okay, let's try to Let's trim this up and see how it fits after we trim it. I'm just going to try to mark this off to where the majority of this is flat. So I'm just sectioning off the flat area. I think I'll still keep this piece, the third piece, because there's a lot going on here that I don't want to have to deal with on top of keeping this all in check, if that makes sense. Up here is where I may have to get started and then refine this as we go. This is the edge. Lines are a little rough, but it's going to get us in the ballpark, I hope. Yeah. I think we're going to go with that. So I'm going to start shrinking about here, kind of in the middle. So it's definitely going to require spreading this out. Probably even more than that. That is a lot of shrinking to do by hand, but we're going to get through it. 18 gauge. What if I just cap it off? Will that be dumb? Probably. Now, if I remember, okay. Shrink starting here. I may need more, but I think I will still start off with those. I may have to do it more than once in these lines and possibly here. I definitely will have to follow up with an extra shrink at the midway point at the very least, and then possibly even more at the tip. All we can verify as we go. So for now, the lines are a little squiggly. These are just guidelines, not to be too concerned. I'll just start with that. And this is that the bottom section, which I will draw because it is my border. Yeah. My no shrink zone. These two are relatively straight. Here, a little bit of give and take. This definitely curves around and then straightens off. So we'll just go with that. Okay. Got out my makeshift stump after having to repair it because my welds broke because I used steel from a bed frame, which isn't, you know, exactly the right material you want to use. However, that's what I got.
Now we're going to put shrinks in here. I'm going to use the stump for that. Using the stump to create a tuck, which I can then hammer out. So, oops. Going off track already. Okay, basically just sort of flattened out this area on the stump, and so I can get a better idea where we are at. I think I may have actually shrunk it too much up here. I'm just noticing the shrink. Like, I made my marks that this is where I want the shrink to start, and it started up here. Alright, we're pounding this out some more. What I went and carved this down a little bit deeper again, so we could get some more shrinkability. Hammer away. See how it fits. I think I went a little off course here, but that's no problem. We'll fix that. As far as this side's concerned, I think I finally got that radius where I want it. It's looking really good. Really good. I may, just in this area, tip this up a little tiny bit. That's super easy to do. Just hammer it out a little bit more. Okay, let's wheel this out a little bit and see what we've done. Alrighty. This pretty darn close. I stretched this area out to better make the transition. This may have to flatten out a little bit more just in this area, but the rest is okay. Satisfied.